Hi, my name is Michael Rochester, and this is my presentation on prosocial behavior. Prosocial behavior. Prosocial behavior is defined as any action performed to help someone else. Examples of prosocial behavior would include caring, helping, sharing, and volunteering. We are both the creators and the products of the situations we surround ourselves with. Performing prosocial behaviors regularly may influence a positive outlook on life. Individual personality. Personality is defined as a person's unique behavioral and cognitive pattern, a habitual way of thinking, feeling, and acting that evolves from both biological and environmental factors. The act of being aware of how we perceive ourselves and the traits others perceive in us can help us to shape and change our behavior to a desired outcome. Self-concept is one's theory about oneself. My best possible self is not so far off from my real self. On personality tests like the Big Five, I score high in areas of extroversion, conscientiousness, neuroticism, and openness to experiences. I would like to be a more warm, patient, and tactful person. Showing more agreeableness in general is a goal of mine. It is likely that my tendency to be stubborn stems from my genes. Heredity plays a role in temperament and aspects of personality such as self-regulation and emotionality. These factors contribute to the amount of time an individual spends engaging in higher levels of prosocial behavior. Human behavior in social settings. Individuals are subject to change in personality depending on the social setting. Albert Bandura believed that one's environment can determine behavior, but at the same time, people can influence the environment with both their thoughts and behaviors. As I began my day of prosocial behavior, I planned to participate in actions that would allow me to feel more optimistic, warm, tactful, friendly, patient, altruistic, and helpful. By displaying prosocial behavior and rejecting antisocial behavior, I demonstrated and participated in several theories surrounding it. Social exchange theory. There are many different theories about why we help each other. According to social exchange theory, people help each other when there is a positive cost-benefit analysis, when the benefit outweighs the costs. The benefits can be tangible or intangible, physical or psychological. Example: in the morning, I made my husband coffee and breakfast. I talked with him about how even though he had to work on the weekend, we would have a great time together on his next day off. My husband was surprised and happy that I was being such a good friend and wife. After our conversation, we both became more excited for his day off. Performing this task also made me feel like I was being very nice by helping him out, and I hoped that he would do the same for me at some point. Internal locus of control. This is the belief that an outcome is influenced by internal actions and beliefs. External locus of control is when circumstances are blamed on external factors. Example: when my emotional 4-year-old cried, I took time to sit with her and hug her for a few minutes, instead of ignoring her or allowing her to calm down on her own. A tender kiss and hug made me feel better, even though I wasn't consciously upset. The action of showing affection and empathy instantly stopped my daughter's crying and minimized her distress. Reciprocity is the basic understanding in social psychology that a person will respond to a positive action with an equal positive reaction. Example: in the morning, I laid out my children's clothes for them to put on. I did this even though they are perfectly capable of doing it themselves. This effort put me in a positive mood because getting dressed is a great way to start the day. We were able to get it done and out of the way quickly. My children thanked me, and they were happy that they could go outside right away without having to go through the process of choosing something weather appropriate. After putting the clothes on, they stayed preoccupied for hours on the trampoline. Reciprocal determinism is the theory that both social environment and personal factors help define and influence behavior. Example: I shared my snack with my kids even though they had already had their own to eat. Through observational learning, my children will see that sharing is a positive experience. Giving my food off my plate is usually not something I do very often. In this situation, I decided to act with prosocial behavior and share my portion. My kids seemed surprised but happy. They ended up sharing their food with me later on in the day. Altruism is the act of committing a selfless act for the greater good. Example: I stood in the bathroom with my 3-year-old when he needed to go, just like he asked me to. This act generated a sense of closeness. I love the fact that he loves me and expresses that he needs me close. My son showed less of a conflict when using the restroom for the rest of the day because he knew I would go with him. I didn't have to worry about him holding his pee. Other than that, I wasn't really getting anything out of this exchange, but it did make me happy to help. Normative social influence is the idea that we become compliant in order to express our need to belong or fit in. Example: instead of arguing with my in-laws about politics over the dinner my husband had prepared, I simply nodded my head and smiled. I am normally very opinionated when it comes to politics, but in this instance, the need to feel well-liked by my family members who help me on a regular basis proved to be more important. This also helped my husband have a fun, relaxing dinner with everybody. Conclusion: consciously performing acts of prosocial behavior throughout the day allowed me to feel more harmonious with the people around me. The role of cognitive dissonance showed me that being more agreeable in my waking life could lead to less stress and more cooperation. The social cognitive perspective has proven to me that my actions as a parent are very important. Behaving in a more positive manner while displaying prosocial behaviors in and out of the home will most likely aid in the molding of my children's likable personalities. I have decided to try my hardest to duplicate this experiment every day. I want to continue to display agreeable traits and minimize social loafing. If the whole world participated in prosocial behaviors more frequently, I believe the Earth's inhabitants would live fuller and more productive lives.